There are investors who are interested in, frankly, speculating on where XRP is going to go. And, to the extent we are successful solving a multi-trillion-dollar problem using XRP and integrating XRP into those flows, it's going to drive a lot of demand for XRP. Again, I said earlier, the market cap of XRP today is around 25 billion. You're solving a $27 trillion problem. I'm not saying it's going to 27 trillion, mind you. You take a lot of friction out of that system. But, when I think about the other use cases and consumer use cases, I think there are a lot of other use cases where we think XRP could be a very efficient digital asset. Ripple is focused on payments. We think about it kind of the same way. Amazon was really good at books. The name of the company actually was Amazon Books. It wasn't Amazon. And then they decided, hey, let's go do another vertical. When I think about what Ripple's trying to do, we want to be extremely good at solving a very large problem around payments and liquidity on a global basis. We are actively, frankly, investing in other use cases for XRP, and those aren't things we will pursue, but some of them will be consumer-centric, some of them will be in marketplaces. But those are things that we will partner with or help entrepreneurs go and build solutions that take advantage of, with a very performant asset relative to most of the other digital assets out there. When we talk about Jamie Dimon, we first have to recognize where he sits. He sits at the top of the global financial infrastructure. There are a few banks, of which JPM is certainly one, that make billions and billions of dollars of profit by virtue of that perch. 99.9% of banks don't make money in this ecosystem in terms of cross-border payments. Jamie Dimon makes a technical term of a shit ton of money by sitting there. So when I hear Jamie Dimon saying it's a fraud, I think to myself, well, of course he's going to say that. He's talking. And by the way, there's also people who conspiratorially that he's trying to talk down the price of Bitcoin so JPM can buy it. Like the idea that JP Morgan isn't actively working in the blockchain and Bitcoin space is not true. Frankly, I don't mind sharing. There are about 15 senior JP Morgan people at Ripple's offices this afternoon. Now, unless JP Morgan's going to fire them.
Does JP Dimon know that?
Apparently not. Anyway, so look, that's my thought on the whole JP Dimon thing. I do think there are people who are going to say this is, in the same manner, a very smart investor said to me, in 1997, the whole West Coast was long Amazon and the whole East Coast was shorting Amazon. We saw how that worked out. And his point was basically, look, the West Coast is obviously bullish and, there's some that are very cynical about these things and, we'll see how it works out. On the risk factor, just very briefly, because I don't want to go on too long, but I think what we have to remind ourselves is this has to come back to utility. What problem is the digital asset solving? If it's solving a real problem and it's creating value by solving that problem, then there will be value in the token.
He won't stop searching for answers. He won't quit. You have to watch him forever. Make sure he doesn't talk. Endless ripple effect.
You remember the Torres case 40 years ago?
It's not that bad, is it?
1,300%.
Right. So XRP actually was the best performing digital asset in 2017. It was up, I think, something like 25,000%. The excitement around digital assets is because I think you're solving a real problem. And I think one of the things you saw happen, particularly last December, is there's understandably concern about regulation and what does that mean for digital assets. From the get-go, Ripple has worked with regulators, and we have worked with regulated institutions like banks where there isn't regulatory uncertainty. And so we have found that part of the reason why XRP has performed well is because people realize, hey, wait a minute, back to your question, is XRP the next Bitcoin? If we work with the system to solve this problem, and we can solve that problem at scale, a problem measured in the trillions of dollars, then there's a lot of opportunity to create value in XRP.
But how can
Mexico. So we work, so there's a small
money service business called Qualix, based in Texas, and they serve Mexican workers that are sending funds back home to their family in Mexico. So what happens is we have relationships that we've helped coordinate with exchanges on both sides of that transaction. So the U.S. it's Bitstamp, and in Mexico it's Bitso, both digital asset exchanges. So they're setting the rates. So in some ways it alleviates the need for Qualix, the financial institution in this case, to even hold XRP. They simply go, the risk is then absorbed by the digital exchange. That's their business, right? They're making markets, they know exchange rates, and there's a fee involved with that. But they will give, or they may have a US dollar account at Bitstamp. They'll say, hey, Bitstamp, send $1,000 worth of pesos to this account in Mexico. Bitstamp converts at the spot rate. It moves over the XRP ledger in 8 seconds. It gets converted by Bitso on the other end into peso at the spot rate, and then goes out on local rails to the ultimate bank account of the recipient. All of that takes, because there's bank processes on either end that we can't fully control, it takes about 10 minutes, which used to be 3 days. And we've been told that the overall rate that they're seeing is 20 some odd basis points less than they would have seen otherwise, even taking into account FX fluctuations, et cetera, et cetera.
Die zentrale Frage wird sein, ich bin ja ein Freund von First Mover. Der First Mover grast für sich einfach am meisten ab. Der vereinnahmt von Anfang an für sich am meisten. Und es wird die Frage sein, wie groß ist der Druck auf die Zentralbanken, CBDCs zu implementieren, der zeitliche Druck, so schnell wie möglich etwas zu tun gegen diesen drohenden Kollaps. Und da wird man natürlich auf das zurückgreifen, was da ist. Ripple ist da mit seinem Angebot, und wenn die Zeit für Ripple spielt, dann kann Ripple durchaus die World Reserve Bridge Currency werden.
The WEF has successfully and thoroughly infiltrated the financial world, corporations, NGOs, religion, the media, the world of science, Hollywood and Bollywood, the domain of air and space, last but not least, they've penetrated the world of politics. Think prime ministers, presidents and advisors to the president, ministers, ambassadors, members of Congress and Parliament, senators and mayors. We're talking thousands and thousands of cabal puppets, longing for a piece of the money and power pie, who are trained by the WEF and put in high positions around the world